Keith Urban is in his zone now. Just keeping the focus right there, and really cool colors for the album cover. The Speed of Now, Part 1, is the newest album released by Keith Urban. We're going to talk about that here today on Y.E.S. For those of you who have followed me in 2020, know that I have reviewed quite a bit more country music than I have normally done in the past, or just have normally listened to throughout my life. Keith Urban is one of those rare artists where I am slightly more familiar with him versus other artists in this particular realm of music. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to review this one because based on the music that I have heard from him in the past, I'm like, yeah, all right. I got a good feeling right here. I can get into that. And overall, I was basically right. I enjoyed this album quite a bit. The thing is, this is like his 11th or 12th album. It's kind of unclear to be able to say. I think most are going to cite this as his 11th, but somewhere down the line, I think there might be more. And here's kind of an interesting factor that I've kind of found out through this particular album. This album feels like it is fresh in the sense that it feels like maybe this is stuff that he was just releasing and kind of coming into his own or into his prime. It kind of feels like it's early music. And then there's also some stuff that's, I guess a little dull is maybe kind of what I'm going for. Just a few songs that I wasn't too keen on. But I found this interesting because I was just thinking like, you know, if this was another artist that I really followed back in the day, I would feel like this is kind of still their beginning stages. And I don't really want to complain about that. I'm just curious because there are moments where it feels like you want it to feel classic. You want to feel like it's in the artist's zone per se. But you also want to feel like they are progressing in their sound. I'm not really sure where I lay on this. I just am happy that I found some songs in here that I definitely would recommend to you. And then everything else, I'm like, okay, so have we had evolution through Keith Urban's music? Or just kind of a consistency of some really good hits and some maybe just filler music? I don't know. I actually really don't know. First song he starts off with is Out the Cage. This one has Breland and Nile Rodgers in here. That's a pretty interesting combination right there. It's really good to get the energy started and the drive of the album moving forward. I thought his collaboration with Pink in here for the song One Too Many, I thought he pulled this off better than I imagined he would. I feel like Pink's vocals are very particular and only could collaborate in just the right moments. And I don't really have a great example of saying what I would like to imagine her collaborating in. But in this, I'm like, this is acceptable. It wasn't my favorite song, but it was acceptable. His third song actually got me thinking a bit. It's called Live With. And it kind of just talks about don't waste life, make the most of your time, or really don't have time stolen away from you from whether it be distractions or other people or other commitments, things that just maybe don't matter, and just make sure you make the most of it. And even so, this isn't one of my favorite songs in here, but I can say this one got me thinking a lot. So I just got to say thank you for that one. Okay, now we got kind of the gist. I'm going to talk about some of the songs I really love. Let's talk about the song Superman. I wrote down that this was probably the most idealistic Keith Urban song or vibe that I would have wanted to get out of listening to an album like this. Let the groove flow through you, and I'm just like, all right, yep, I'm in my zone. I'm in his zone. We are sharing the zone. Next song is Soul Food. This is groovy. Country groovy. Yeah, I like this one. Then the last song I would like to highlight is Polaroid. just kind of the remembering of a coming of age with a special someone kind of situation. I don't know if I ever really get tired of that particular setting. You just have to pull it off well. Keith does that, so I'm okay with it. Now, just adding some additional commentary in here. Songs like Change Your Mind talks about like the changes that take place in a breakup. This one has kind of a message I can see a lot of people really getting into. It's kind of like his version of Somebody That I Used to Know from Y.E.S. You know, just his version of taking on that subject. He ends the album actually with the song We Were. I like this one because it has kind of traditional country guitars in here. And he actually does a remix of this with Eric Church at the end. Now, I use quotations like this because it doesn't really feel like a remix. It's just altered to have Eric Church featured in here, while essentially, from what I read, reading the same lyrics. So he didn't really change that much. So I'm not saying Eric Church did a bad job. I'm just saying I just prefer the original because it just feels slightly more normal, I guess. As for negatives, I would say there's just some songs in here where I feel like the vibe just really wasn't there. There's only really one in here where I had like some actual things I was a little turned off by. And even then, the song isn't really that bad. It's just kind of pushing me back. And that song is Say Something. It has a message in there that is in fact good, somewhere deep down in there. But the way that it comes off, it just is bordering on trying to figure out telling you something moral, but probably in a more preachy way rather than a I'm your brother, I got your back kind of thing, or from a figure of authority thing, which you probably wouldn't take much from Keith Urban just because he's a country music artist and that's where he's at. He's not a preacher or anything like that. So just, yeah, take that as you will. But as I mentioned before, I think there's plenty in here that anyone could enjoy. And it's just kind of a peculiar kind of thing that I mentioned about trying to figure out, like, is he just going back to his roots or is he actually not evolving enough? I'm not really sure. I'm just glad that I took away songs that I actually enjoyed. So after having listened and reviewed this album, I'm going to give production an A-, creativity a B, expression and lyrics a B, and how would I recommend this album? I'm going to give this album a good. Kind of like a fork in the road for this album, just kind of like liking it, not loving it, but there's not really a room for hating it, just acknowledging, there were moments where I wanted more, but I took away enough songs in here to be able to I think Keith Urban still has something here. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me in my social media links down in the description below, and be sure to leave a like for the video as well as a comment down below if you want to engage with me. And remember, if you want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get that, yes, in your life. See you next time.